just to put things in perspective, I was actually asked this once, and I never did reply. It was probably about a year ago. The fuel range. You can see right there, I've got an absolute full tank. I filled it completely up as full as it would possibly go, probably overflowing to the neck a little bit, okay? In my Comp G, when I did the same thing, it read 316 miles. In fact, I saw it read 320 once, very briefly. 316 miles. This thing filled up 225 miles is what the computer thinks I'm going to get out of that tank. So to put that in perspective, let's say you're driving down the highway in a Comp G, you can get approximately, let's just say 300 miles on a tank of gas. With this thing, you're going to get about 200 miles. So you can put that into perspective as far as what your fuel range is actually going to be. Now, I've filled up plenty of times reading 225 miles, and in fact we took a trip to St. Louis in this once, and I filled up in Lansing, and I was able to get more than 225 miles out of a tank. Now, I don't let it drop all the way down to absolute zero before I head into the next gas station, but I put the trip on because I was curious as far as if this thing was pretty accurate. And it read just a tad over 240 miles when I was just hitting the red on the tank, and I stopped to get gas. So I was able to get more than what that thing predicted. So I estimated, I was doing 70 all the way to St. Louis, and I estimated that I got right around 250 miles on a tank, full tank, was my guess. Now, we took the same trip in my Comp G, and I did the exact same thing the first trip. I set the trip to zero and went ahead and filled it up. I had the 316 miles on the range. I filled it up, and I was able to get about 330 miles before I hit the red on the gas. So it definitely does better than the range believes it does. But then again, when you're on the highway and you're cruising at the same speed for 300 miles, you're going to do better on gas than city driving, obviously, or a combination of the two. And so at 70 miles per hour, I was getting pretty good gas mileage. Now, I think the second video that I posted of this car, I was doing 80 down the highway, and I was still able to get around 25, 26 miles to the gallon on a flat road. With this, displacement on demand was not turned on at the time because I had a check engine light, which prevented it from coming on. So regardless of DOD being on, or active fuel management, however you want to call it, at 80 miles per hour, I was still getting around 25 miles to the gallon with this. Now, I could probably get closer to 28 or 29 with my Comp G, but it was the fact that, I was able to get that good of gas mileage at that speed. I was actually pretty impressed with that. So that's kind of a comparison look between the two. And of course, gearing has something to do with it. If you've got the supercharged 3800, you're going to get really good gas mileage. That's just the way that it is. And of course, the non-supercharged, the naturally aspirated 3800 is going to do a little bit better. But I always found that the L32 did fantastic on gas. And actually, this thing does a really good job on gas too, even without DOD. I think it does a pretty good job. It's got a big V8 under the hood, and I'm still able to get, 25, 26 on the highway doing 80 miles an hour, and I think that's pretty good. Of course, in the city, with my foot, I don't really get all that great of mileage, but that's my own choice.